Chapter 27. Rebecca Gabillen. Tuesday, April 3, 2011. Months had passed since the start of the course. The new director's rules were already giving the first benefits to the school. Many students did not agree. The supervisor, Rebecca, appeared as a surprise certain days of the week, was a threat to the student community, where she prohibited romantic relationships. Eating chewing gum in the classrooms and hallways, clothing had to be formal, shirts with skirts outside were prohibited, and the use of a belt was mandatory. The haircut had to be respected according to what the regulations said. No male student could have hair more than 2 inches long, in the same way with the measurements of pants, petticoats. Colorful hair, makeup, among other things, were prohibited. The students felt like they were in prison due to the rules imposed by Rebecca and Silvana. But the straw that broke the camel's back was the news of the cancellation of the student elections permanently, where due to the ambient noise of the school. Principal Silvana reported that after having had a pleasant conversation with Angie Ann from the 10th year of the House of Jade Clovers, she made the decision to eliminate the school's suffrage for the elections that would eventually be in May or June. Given this, that day in the morning, the group of allies was in different parts of the school. Angie and Gavin were in the library looking for books and information about the riddles to take to their teammates that they had formed to investigate. In addition, the librarian, Madame Layla, tasked them both with carrying a book to the chapel in the Green Forest. For Professor Isabel, in the East Main Hall of the school, Daniel, Louis, Adrian and Roger were chatting very close to the marble monument that the new director had built during the summer, and finally, in the West Main Hall of the school, they were talking about the riddles Bastian, Alessio, Alvord and Chaka. At 10 in the morning, Angie and Gavin left the library with Madame Layla's order. Angie told Gavin that they should deliver this quickly to the Green Forest, since she had to meet Mariah, Angelica, Priscilla and Emily in the women's bathroom along with Malith. But problems would quickly begin that day. That day in the Green Forest Chapel, Angie and Gavin gave Professor Muller the favor that Madame Layla had asked of them. Upon leaving the chapel and moving along the Green Forest path, Kelly Luces, a student of the Eagles, approached Scarlet's towards them. "Stop, both of you," Kelly shouted. "What do you want?" "Who are you?" Gavin asked, annoyed. "Don't get in the way, we're in a hurry." Angie snapped. "Ha ha ha. I won't let you go that easy. This is part of a plan. My name is Kelly Luces, Scarlet Eagles." "10th year," said Kelly, laughing. "And what do you want?" "The delegate award for what you just said." Gavin responded sarcastically. "Plan? What plan?" Angie said. "You see, you're Angie, right? Because of you, they have eliminated suffrage from the school. We had a candidate, and you ruined him. The other students are furious about the decision, with you and your house, so in our house we have decided to look for them to pay for what they did. We will give him what he deserves, as always, by ruining everything," said Kelly. "Silly girl. If you knew that we also had a candidate, but the director already had in mind to eliminate this." "It's not our fault," Angie said with annoyance. "Anyway, I'll have to take care of you, and my friends will take care of the rest of the, you guys are all over the school," said Kelly. "Are you stupid or what? If the principal or the teachers find out about the duels, they will stop their silly plan," Gavin said with disdain. "Ha. You are the fools. The director is always on the side of our house," Kelly concluded. The duel began. Kelly was disciplined to wear a thief ring on her arm, the same as Adrian. She could steal magic objects, weapons and use explosives. Angie took out her bow and shot an arrow with Bersaka. Kelly was hit by a brown flash and began to have the effect of madness and anger from the berserk. Kelly counterattacked with a series of sharp harpoons that came out of her fingers, managing to create cuts on Gavin and Angie's arms. Gavin used Windaga with his boomerang. While Kelly again used her ring to steal magic from Angie and Gavin, he had 2 turns, so he launched an arrow with Vaboga and another with Berna to cause fire and poisoning. The purple and red arrows went evenly towards Kelly's body respectively, and it was an effective attack. The purple arrow with Vaboga hit his arm and the red arrow caused his tunic and vest to catch fire. Kelly took a potion out of her pocket and cured herself, stating that when she stole Angie's magic, she took the opportunity to take a potion. Kelly threw the harpoons again with the fingers of her hands, and followed by this she launched a series of explosives with Bersaka, but unfortunately for her, these failed and did not explode. Gavin used his special attack and launched his boomerang with elemental magic from Berna, Frieza and Electra and hit Kelly in 8 counts, leaving her with little energy, so Angie used her special attack and shot 4 arrows with Berna fire. Kelly did not give up and recharged her vitality with another potion, so Angie, fed up with how complex this duel was becoming, he called for the Ganesha summon, whereafter his bow and Dance the Elephant appeared and with his special attack charged by the last battle, he launched holy water and ended up defeating Kelly. She got up, used Runaway and fled through the foliage of the green forest, so Angie told Gavin not to waste time and run to return to their places. Angie had to return to the women's bathroom where her friends were waiting for her and Gavin to the living room to meet with Arthur, John Paul and Alex to give him the books they had gotten from the library. In the East Main corridor, the marble monument was on one side. Daniel Black, Adrian, Lewis and Roger were talking about deciphering in their free time. Very close to them was the marble monument that the new director had built. It was a kind of white marble cube, which some guys from the Pizcet mines would soon come to carve, so the 4 of them decided to go take a look. When they arrived at the monument, Roger and Adrian sat on it. Black began to touch it with his fist, while Lewis began to kick and punch the monument. "What the hell happens to you?" Black asked. "Did you lose control?" said Adrian. "This stupid monument. Because of this is that many things that we want at the school are not done. They have spent a lot of money on this and not on what really interests and benefits the students." Exclamation mark quote. Lewis responded angrily. "It's useless for you to do that. You won't hurt him. Marble is as hard as steel," said Roger. Lewis continued his blows when suddenly everything began to shake. The monument was rising from the ground. The boys stood aside and after a few minutes, the monument changed its shape and became a kind of marble golem and attacked Lewis with its arm. "What the hell is that?" Adrian shouted. The duel against the marble golem began. It had stiff legs, but it was very clumsy and slow to fight. It had several yellow and red eyes. A strange voice came out of it. "I am Reggie's marble golem. You will pay for your violent behavior." Then he extended his rocky arms. They were very fast to deliver their blows. So he performed a propeller attack, rotating with his body in 360, and began to hit the boys. Black fired his bullets with his shotgun, but the attack did not do much damage. Nor did Roger's attack with his trident. "Damn! Forget that it is made of marble. Our weapon attacks are useless," Roger said. So the golem once again launched a hammer blow at Lewis with one of his arms, but he was able to dodge it. Adrian had an idea, and used Aquara on the golem. It began to lose energy. After this, Adrian had a plan. "Guys, use water, grass and fire magic. That is his weakness. It is the only way to kill him. The other magics are immune against him," said Adrian. So Black launched a flow of Aquara with his shotgun and did great damage to the golem. After receiving a hit from a blue spray, and the golem squatted down as if some part of his body hurt. "Excellent. This enemy is weak against water," Black said. The golem lost its next turn, so Roger waited, making a defensive position, protecting himself with his trident. He knew that his weapon, Even using magic would be useless against the golem, so Roger invoked the celestial deity of Selassie, where he heard a huge roar and it appeared from the sky with its wings. Selassie was ready to launch his special attack, and with his growl a beam of fire from Bernaga did great damage to the golem. Finally, Adrian used his special ability and stole Rokarga's magics of the golem. Louis cast Frieza with his wand, causing the golem to crystallize like an ice cube. It could not move, but with its rotating head it created a tremor with Rokarga. So Louis again cast Frieza and immobilized its head. So with this, Roger used Mitarga with his trident and the golem lost an arm. It was still immobilized. Louis, Adrian and Black used Mitarga to destroy the rest of the golem. Heavy anvils and silver-colored iron spheres fell on it, giving them victory. The marble figure began to crumble, like a building when it is demolished, and thousands of pieces of marble remained on the ground. The duel was over and behind them someone shouted, "Young people, what they have just done is very serious. They have destroyed the school's assets. Come with me," said Rebecca, who was watching the duel. Roger, Black, Adrian and Louis, with resignation on their faces, had no choice but to accompany her. On the other hand, in the West Main Hall, Alessio, Bastian, Chaka and Alvard, the four of them were reading a scroll about the riddles, when suddenly, Rogerio's atelier, the first-year boy of the Scarlet Eagles, appeared. "What is offered to you, child?" asked Bastian. "I come to give them what they deserve for causing the elections to be eliminated," said Rogerios. "What are you talking about? You're new to the school. You don't know anything. It's pure nonsense," Alessio responded. "You heard me. They'll get what they deserve." Rogerios responded, "Kid, you're going to regret it," Chaka said. Rogerios's eyes turned yellow with red, and threw sand and rocks towards where Alvard was. "What's wrong with you, idiot? You will pay for that," Alvard responded. The duel began. Rogerios used two weapons in his hands, a kind of shovel and a pickaxe in his other hand. He specialized only in using Rokarga with sand, earth and rock attacks. "This child will be a piece of cake. Use water magic, with that we will beat him. Don't use the thunder element, that is his immunity," said Alessio. Rogerios unleashed a sandstorm on the group, but it was quickly dissipated by a water vapor attack from Chaka's canteen. Following this, Alessio used his special attack and landed 4 hits on Aquara with his sphere, causing Rogerios to take a hit. Quite a bit of damage. For his part, Rogerios used Rokarga and launched a sludge attack, causing Alvard to suffer poisoning. But Chaka took out an antidote from his backpack and cured his negative status. Alvard recovered, threw his whip, and hit one of Rogerios's hands, causing him to drop one of his weapons to the ground. Bastian with his axe, threw it to Rogerios's other arm and took away his second weapon, leaving him completely unarmed. Rogerios again used Rokarga and created a small earthquake. Alessio fell, but Chaka and Bastian withstood the attack. Finally Bastian threw his axe at him, leaving him confused by the blow, and Chaka finished the boy by throwing a blast of fire at him, making a blowing with his hand in his mouth, being able to do Burna magic. Rogerios still had a little energy left, but Alessio launched his sphere with Aquara and finished off Rogerios. Victory for the group. The duel ended and Rogerios fled to the Green Forest using Runaway, while behind them, Rebecca appeared again, indicating that duels were prohibited without the permission of a teacher or tutor, and asked them to accompany her, as had happened with the previous group. In the Great Hall where the great events of the school took place, Priscilla, Mariah, Angelica and Emily were heading. Minutes before, it was a quiet day in the women's bathroom. The girls were waiting for Angie, who had to bring books with information of the riddles, when suddenly, from one of the bathrooms, a girl named Raven Zant, from the Scarlet Eagles, came out. A girl with glasses, short, with brown hair and dark skin, rebuked and insulted Maleth, who was near her. The tap's taking a sip of water. Maleth asked her what her problem was, so the Eagles girl kicked and kicked Maleth, so Maleth, still in pain, ran after her. Mariah, Emily, Priscilla and Angelica ran after Maleth until they reached the Great Hall, where it seemed like an ambush. Raven lured the girls to a group of 4 Scarlet Eagle girls and told Maleth that she must pay for what she did to Raven and the rest of the girls. Because of you and your house, there will be no elections. We will give them what they deserve, one of them shouted. Ha! Don't make me laugh, it's not our fault, said Maleth. Of course, insisted another girl from the Eagles named Marissa, who had black hair and wore glasses. Well, my friends will take care of you, Maleth concluded. The duel began. The Scarlet Eagles girls began attacking. First, one of them created a protective barrier using Reflect. Followed by this, Raven used Fastaga with her entire team. The third girl launched physical blows against Priscilla and Angelica. Mariah also used Reflect and created a protective barrier. Angelica launched a Windaga sword blow with her katana. Followed by this, Emily launched a sword blow against Raven. Priscilla launched Somnuga against one of the rivals and took her out of the duel, since she had fallen asleep. Then the rivals counterattacked with Electraga and Bernaga. Raven used Psykarga, but the barrier created by Mariah prevented the impact. Priscilla launched Smotoxarga and created a storm of sand and smoke over them, causing blindness to one of them. Raven he cursed Priscilla, saying that they had no remedies, potions, antidotes or elixirs to recover from negative states. Damn! You are a cheater. This is a common duel, Raven shouted. While Priscilla answered, it's not my problem, you asked for it. Now, accept the consequences of your actions against Maleth. Only Raven and her friend remained. So they used physical attacks again, followed by Bersaka and Vaboga, but again Mariah's barrier prevented that impact, so Emily launched Electra with the sword blade charged with electricity. While Priscilla used Aquara, in that, Mariah healed with Gila and Wizarda the vitality and magical power of her friends. And finally Angelica defeated Raven's last ally, with her katana, Raven. She had no choice but to flee using Runaway. The duel ended and the girls won. After the duel, Angie arrived at the Great Hall and asked about what was happening. The girls explained that a troublemaker from the Scarlet Eagles was bothering them in the bathroom and they decided to give chase. Finally, at the top of the Great Hall, he appeared. Rebecca, and like the other boys, also asked them to accompany them. They passed minutes and Rebecca summoned the group of boys to the clock square of the school tower. There she began to talk to them. Well, what I saw this morning while I was doing my morning inspection at the school seems like inappropriate behavior to me. A group fighting against a poor defenseless student from another house. Duels are prohibited. You are no longer first-year children. You have been here for 10 years. Another group of rioters destroying an architectural work. A group of bullies against a child, and finally the girls in an ambush against other girls. This is unacceptable. Architectural work, said Louis as he wrinkled his face. It's just a piece of marble, without any form or figure, said Adrian. And what prompted to do that kind of thing? Rebecca asked. We just lost control, Louis said, trying to change the subject. Is that all they'll say? Remember that you have a record, said Rebecca. And what will he do to us? Asked Angie. Will he expel us? Ha ha ha, Gavin asked, laughing. They could even be expelled from the town if it was up to me, but... Rebecca said. But what? Priscilla shouted, asking abruptly. Director Silvana is not only now the director of the school, said Rebecca. What are you talking about? Asked Black. Well, The vacancy of the Minister of the Department of Education has been free since the incident with the previous minister. You know that story very well. So the city council appointed the director as minister and acting director at the school. She will handle both positions. She is a very prepared person, said Rebecca. We are not afraid of those sermons, said Angelica. Well, she is not afraid. Is in the school these days. I am in charge, so when I return, I will pass a report about their behavior, so that they are not only expelled from the school, but also from this town and pay for everything they have done. Rebecca answered and began to change her expression. She had an evil expression. Her pupils turned white for a slight moment, and then they took on a red and yellow tone. This was a sign that everyone already knew. Her body began to changing size. She was taller and thicker. Metal armor began to emerge from her, like a vest. Her appearance was becoming like that of a sentinel, but larger in size. What do you think of a duel? 4 of you against me? If they win, they will be able to escape from my power and that of the director, and if they lose, they will accept the consequences that I told them. Who will come forward? Rebecca asked. Many of the boys were exhausted from the last duel they had had in the different groups, so they coordinated and finally decided to join the duel against Rebecca, Louis, Daniel, Angie and Bastien. The duel began. Rebecca used reflex and created a barrier to protect herself. Following this, she used the power of a staff she had in her hands to physically hit the 4 with a flash of white light called holy. The blows were relatively very strong and damaged the boys' vitality a lot. Louis used Drenny to absorb Rebecca's energy, followed by using osmosis to absorb her magical power. Rebecca again launched a kick against the 4, again doing a lot of physical damage. Angie launched a purple arrow. He had used Vaboga with it, and poisoned Rebecca. Black used his shotgun and launched a flame of Burna. Rebecca again counterattacked with her special attack and launched a rain of sharp blades, similar to white knives. It was another strong attack. Bastien took advantage of the 2 turns he had, regenerated the vitality of his allies with potions and then threw his axe towards Rebecca, giving her an accurate blow to break part of her armor. Rebecca took advantage of her 3 turns and physically hit Black, Angie and Bastien with his staff, and then used Lentauga but failed. Louis used Dead against Rebecca, where she was hit by a black veil like a curse, since reflex protective barrier had dissipated, and she began to lose vitality. The osmoses and the Drenny continued to take effect and Louis increasingly recovered his energy. Rebecca used Holy again on the group, but fortunately they didn't suffer much damage. Angie noticed that Rebecca's armor was having problems and some sparks were visible between his parts, so Angie thought of throwing water at him to create a short-circuit explosion. So she summoned Ganesha again, who was weak from the last fight, but did not have his special attack charged with energy, but that was not an impediment to Archer's plan. Angie ordered Ganesha to use a Kwarga on herself. What the hell are you doing, Angie? Said Black. Shut up and watch, answered Angie. What are you thinking? Asked Bastien. I think I already understood. Well thought about, said Louis. It's simple. Ganesha is in summon of the water element. If he receives the impact of aquatic attacks, he will recover his energy and vitality so that he can perform his special attack of sacred water, Angie explained. You are a champion, said Black. Well thought out, Curls, said Bastien. Ganesha began casting a Kwarga herself, and it recharged her vitality quickly. Ha! If you think you'll beat me with that creature, you're very wrong. Let's finish this, Rebecca shouted. And she launched Electraga against Ganesha, but the attack was useless, since Ganesha, according to legend, was created in a mud swamp and that makes her immune to electricity. It can't be, Rebecca shouted. Ha ha ha. Now who is the fool? said Angie. Finally Ganesha recharged his power and Angie ordered him to use his special attack of holy water, and thus a wave of water fell on Rebecca, causing the sparks of electricity from the water to be conductive, creating an explosion for a short time. Circuit, causing Rebecca to lose the duel and the victory for the group of boys. After the explosion of her armor, Rebecca stood up and dissipated. I'm leaving here, it will soon be the end of her. Brats, said Rebecca as she fled using runaway. Angie, you saved the day. Black shouted, that's my friend. Priscilla shouted, you're very good. Ha ha ha. Gavin said laughing. That woman used runaway and ran away. We have to be ready in case she shows up again, Angie explained. You're a champ, Angie, Emily added. The rest of the team approached Angie and congratulated her for such a brilliant strategy to defeat Rebecca's Sentinel supervisor. The day ended. Everyone returned to the ranch and told the rest of the group what had happened that day at the school. The days passed, and after a lot of work, the heroes managed to forge their weapons to stage 4 silver. Gavin now had a silver 4-bladed boomerang, similar to a shuriken, silveruken. Priscilla with her silver spellbook, silverblia. Bastian, his silver axe, silverhari. Black a silver assault rifle, silvershot. Adrian, a silver ring, silverduster. Lewis with his silver wand, platinum. Angie with her silver bow and arrow, silverchuri, and she had learned to use flare, asterer and ultima just like Priscilla and Lewis. Roger, silver trident, silverdin. Alessio, silver sphere, spurnova. Emily, a thin-bladed silver sword, silverscreama. Mariah, the bow staff with silver saxophone, silver jazz. Alvord, silver whip with a cross, silver cross. Angelica, a fan with 2 silver katanas on its edges. Windaga fan. Chaka, her silver canteen, silver cycle, in addition to improving their weapons. The vast majority already mastered the magic of light and darkness respectively, and were ready to continue strengthening their levels and experience to finally master Phase 3 dark magics. Lewis and Priscilla already used Bernaga, Friezaga, Electraga and Aquarga, in addition to having learned Flare, Regen, Asterer and Ultima. The others tried to perfect these magics, which was difficult for them and took them a little more time, because they were not from the discipline of magicians. In the last days of April, Alberth, Arthur, Danny, Sebastian, Gustav, Yasser, Eric, Mei Lin, Mott, John Paul and Alex called Angie, Black and Gavin to tell them that they had discovered the first riddle. Really? What did they discover? Angie asked. The riddle of the world of fun refers to the amusement park, said Alex, the one next to the Pizcet airport where the zoo, the circus and the rides are. Said Gavin. That's right, that's right. I have a hard time not going. We're already finding out everything about the place to have complete information, added Alberth. What should we find there? Asked Black. We're supposed to, that the girl Naomi Montgomery is there. What other information do you have about the other places? Said Angie. Just that. We will return to Alex to continue investigating.